Greece, of course, is also positioned at the continent's critical mineral raw material supply chain. So that's a great place to be, with Europe requiring these critical minerals, and it's a great place for Rockfire to be with that germanium as a critical mineral there.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by David Price, the Chief Executive of Rockfire Resources. David, very good to speak with you. For investors new to Rockfire Resources, how would you describe the Molai project, and why do you see it as strategically important in today's metals market?
G'day, Stephen. Thanks very much for having me on Proactive Investors. Greece, the Molai project in Greece, it's a zinc project primarily, and the zinc is the main focus. We also have lead and silver, and a critical mineral, germanium. So the focus is shifting a little bit from the zinc and the importance of zinc onto the more critical mineral germanium, which is becoming quite a valuable byproduct at this stage. So germanium is trading at about $8.5 million a ton. So it's a pretty nice byproduct to have there with the zinc. Greece itself, I'd like to be able to inform you how good Greece is as an investment destination. So it's just across the ditch there. It's not far away from England, and you're in a first world country. So clearly you've got safety aspects of being in Greece. You don't have to worry about personal safety or safety of your staff. The Greek laws are well tested, they're well proven. The Greek government has been mining zinc underground for decades now, so they're very familiar with mining of zinc. They're very familiar with mining underground, and they're very familiar with the laws and the requirements for a modern zinc underground mine. So that's a great jurisdiction to be in. Greece, of course, is also positioned at the continent's critical mineral raw material supply chain. So that's a great place to be, with Europe requiring these critical minerals, and it's a great place for Rockfire to be with that germanium as a critical mineral there.
I mean, David, is this a European critical mineral story essentially hiding inside a zinc deposit? I mean, China controls global germanium supply. Could you be sitting on a strategic source for Europe?
Look, I think that's exactly hit the nail on the head there, Stephen. It's zinc is the focus of the deposit, and of course, zinc doesn't sparkle like gold. You know, the gold takes a lot of attention by explorers and investors. Zinc is not driven by emotion like gold tends to be. And but why I like zinc in particular is that it's used in everything. It's used in, of course, galvanizing, which is the biggest use of zinc. It's in cosmetics, it's in lasers, it's in toothpaste, it's in sunscreens, agricultural fertilizers and fungicides. It's used in really everything. So it's a great staple, and the world needs a lot of zinc. And you won't get the wild swings of emotion that gold gets, nor the wild price swings. So zinc itself, it's a great product to have there as the main source. We've got silver. We've got 19 million ounces of silver at Molai. So that's a great product to have. And then, of course, the germanium. And some of the uses of germanium, I quickly want to touch on that. And that is that electronics, of course, if you add germanium to the silica chips, then you can manufacture a smaller chip. The chip produces less electronic noise, and it actually operates over a wider temperature range. So that's great for the use of germanium. Driving assistance, lane changing, reverse parking sensors, autonomous driving, it all depends on germanium. So a great market there, the automotive industry there for germanium, a big use for that. Military warfare, it's a great use in a lot of use in military and warfare. Weapons sighting applications, high powered scopes, infrared heat seeking missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles. So all of these require germanium for the guidance systems, so that to ensure that these missiles hit the target. So it's a pretty apt topic at the moment, and one that we're fortunate to have germanium in our zinc deposit there. And the other thing to point out is that not all zinc deposits have got germanium. So there's many zinc deposits all over the world, and not many of them have germanium. So we're drilling at the moment to upgrade from inferred category to indicated at Molai in Greece. And when we finish this drilling program, we're going to come out with the maiden germanium resource. So we'll end up with one of really only 2 germanium quoted resources globally. So that's a pretty good fact behind Rockfire. So we're happy about that. Great place to be, and it's something that we're very proud to be able to achieve.
David, do you think the market's really fully appreciating the germanium you're sitting on? I mean, how significant could Molai become as a European source of germanium?
Well, we're hoping that it'll become a very big source for the germanium for Europe. There aren't any current operations of germanium or sources of germanium in Europe, and Molai will be the only one. And there's not many competitors, which is great. So I think as we develop the resource, it will become more critical and more important to Europe. And of course, Europe is looking to try and supply its own sources of raw materials. And germanium, as I say, there's no one else who's got that. So Rockfire's in a great position for that.
I mean, you mentioned your latest drilling, David. So drilling from holes 15, 16, 17, continuing to return strong zinc, silver, and germanium mineralization, alongside some very high PXRF readings. What do these results tell you about the consistency and scale of the system?
Yeah, a lot, Stephen. We started the drilling campaign earlier in the year. We had a bit of difficulty trying to get through some of the faults and drilling through the faults. It is highly fractured and broken ground, and that's what you expect in good deposits. There's a saying that usually the best mineral deposits are found in the worst ground, and that holds true. So we had trouble getting through that zone. We moved the rig away from that zone further to the south to try and check out what's going on further to the south, which didn't have much drilling. And we hit narrow zones, maybe a meter or 2 of zinc, lead, silver, and germanium. 2 things that came out of that, even though it's narrow, the grades were very high, and that's really great, because what that means is that if you come to a minimum underground mining width of 2 meters, it means that you'll be able to still make that an economic grade over that distance. The other thing is, of course, the germanium was proven to still be at high grades, even at the extremities of the tenement. So down in the south, it is narrow. We all acknowledge that. High grade, great, good to have high grade, because as they always say, grade is king. And then we moved the rig to the north of that broken ground, and we're heading off towards the north. And holes 15, 16, 17 have been complete. As we know, hole 15, we've got the results back. That hit a nice zone, about 12 meters at 8.8 grams of zinc. And I think it averaged, from memory, about 24 grams per tonne germanium. So that's a great grade, really good grade. And it's consistent, the germanium in that 12 metres, the germanium was up to 74 grams per tonne. So look, it's robust. It's great to have that germanium in there. And we're really happy with the progress of that we're making now with the drilling, having moved away from that zone. We will move back and we will drill the broken ground later, and it's something that we certainly will be able to achieve. We're buying our own drill rig that's been put out in the public now, and it just means that we have full control over our drilling program, and that's a great place to be. It's always difficult to find rigs in Europe. It's really tough, because you line a rig up, and then the people using the rigs end up keeping them, and they don't release them. So that's tough. It happens in the industry. It happened to us, and we move on, and we'll get the job done.
Well, as you mentioned, you're currently drilling to upgrade the resource from inferred to indicated status. Looking ahead, what's the key catalysts investors should be watching for over the next 6 to 12 months? So from assay results and drilling to resource upgrades and potential development milestones.
Yep, yeah, that's exactly what they've got to look forward to. There'll be continued results coming out from our drilling. And next year, we're hoping to get into our feasibility studies. Now, importantly, some of the long lead time aspects of the feasibility study are the ecological study and the hydrological study. They both require 12 months of monitoring prior to a feasibility study. So our ecological study, we started about 9 months ago now. In fact, it's probably 11 months ago. I think it's due at the end of June. So we'll finish that long lead time by the end of June. And the hydrological study is ongoing. So we started monitoring the water. So that's the inflow at the underground. They tested all the wells. They tested our boreholes. They tested the inflows from the streams and the outflows from the streams. And they've already got all of that data now ready for a feasibility study. And also that monitoring will continue as we mine and even after mining. So we've deliberately made sure that these long time aspects of a feasibility study are behind us so that it doesn't slow our progress down when we come to feasibility.
Yeah. And obviously having your own drill rig will also not slow your progress down, saving on costs at the same time. What does your cash runway look like as you move towards that feasibility study, David?
Look, we raised £3 million in January, and the best I can tell you at the moment is the bulk of that is still in the bank account. So we're doing well. We're fine for our drilling program. We're fine for purchasing the rig. I was made aware that some of the comments were that we'd need to raise to pay for a rig. That's not the case at all. And so we're chugging along. We'll continue on, and at this stage, we have absolutely no plans for raising.
It sounds like a very exciting period ahead for the company. I hope you'll continue to keep us updated with your progress.
Good on you. Thank you very much for having me.
Very welcome. David Price, Chief Executive of Rockfire Resources.